You're listening to Life with Herpes, and this is episode 23. Hello, my friend. How are you? Welcome to today's episode, Life with Herpes. I am your host, Alexandra Harbushka, and as always, I am ecstatic to be here and excited to be here with you. Hey, how are you? How are you guys doing? Yeah, I love recording these podcasts. I just love doing this. It is what I love the most is reaching out to you guys and seeing you guys comment, ask questions. It just lights me up. So I'm excited to be here with you, even though we don't really necessarily like the topic we're talking about. No one really wants to have herpes, but you know what? We're doing the best, right? We're making the best of it. Before I get going in today's episode, I want to talk about the Life with Herpes Crisis Toolkit. You've heard me talk about it a little bit. I just launched it. So I'm so excited about it. It really has been a passion project for me. You know what? This whole thing, Life with Herpes has been a passion project for me. But enough about that. Let's talk about the Life with Herpes Crisis Toolkit. And I created it for the person that is just finding out you have herpes. I know what it's like. You feel alone. You feel scared shitless. You are lost. You are in the state of absolute shock. And what I don't want is for you to be there alone. I just want to give you a hug and tell you everything's going to be okay. So that's why I created this kit. It is an action plan, what you need to do, how to prepare the first 24, 48 hours, a crisis calmer, a meditation, a shopping list, the 101, what you need to know. They are the top 7 things I wish I would have known when I was diagnosed. So I put everything in here so that you can just know that everything's going to be okay. So head on over to lifewithherpes.com. And it's right there on the top. It is the the Life with Herpes Crisis Toolkit. Click around that button, learn more. I cannot wait for you to find out and get more information. Okay, so today I was thinking I wanted to get a little personal. I thought I'd tell a personal story. And because I know how important that is on so many levels. It's important for me to open up and be transparent for you, right? So you can understand that what I've gone through, and then also for me to remember what it was like. Because as you go through life, you sometimes forget, or you close a door, or you close something down, and you just don't realize what that process was like. And I am going to share my stories about telling guys that I dated that I have herpes. Yeah. I can remember that was my biggest fear, the whole thing was, holy shit, my life's over. But one of the biggest fears was nobody's going to love me ever again. Nobody's going to want to touch me. They're going to think I'm dirty. I'm going to be like the leper. I'm going to be like the scarlet letter. I'm going to be that person that everybody talks about behind their back and nobody wants to date. And that was my biggest fear. I had to do a lot of work to get to the point where I am now, where it is absolute erroneous. It is bullshit. That only happens if you let that happen. If you live in that fear, then that is going to be your reality, and that is going to be your truth. And right, because you create your own reality. But that is not true, and that's not how you have to live. But trust me, it did not happen overnight. It took years of self-work and work, and self-love was huge. The self-love and self-worth was huge. And that's a whole nother episode. How I got there. But what I really want to talk about is those stories of going, hey babe, I've got herpes. Because I know you're dealing with that, and that's scary. So after I broke up with the guy that I was dating that had herpes, I thought, okay, I need to move on. I need to date. I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to let herpes get in the way. And as hard as it was for me to accept, I really looked at it as, and I know this is easier said than done, but I looked at it as if somebody doesn't want to sleep with me or somebody doesn't want to love me, not even sleep with me, love me because I have herpes, then that person does not deserve my time, attention, or my body. They don't deserve the sex. They don't deserve me. They don't deserve anything to do with it. If you're not going to love me for everything about me, then you don't deserve it. Like I said, that took a long time to get to. It took me about 2 years before I ended it with the guy that had herpes. It took me about 2 years before I could move on because I was scared of that. So if you're in that phase right now, it's okay. Promise, you will get through it. But that was really a key piece in my mind was that if somebody doesn't love my herpes and doesn't truly love me for me and everything about me, head to toe, then they don't deserve me. That doesn't make it easier than telling them I have herpes. And I'll be honest. So I decided to date. I was like, you know what? It's a numbers game. The more I date, the more I learn. The more I go on dates, the more I learn about myself. The more I learn about the guy I'm dating. The more I learn about what I like, what I don't like, new things. How many times have you gone on a date and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that this was important to me. And this is. Like, remember that one of the first times I went on a date and the guy opened the car door and I was like, oh, I like this. Yeah, this is on my list of musts. Like, right? I mean, who doesn't like their car door opened? I do. So anyways, I decided to make that decision. I'm going to date as much as possible. And I want to clarify, for my personal life, and I am not, I guess I'll use the word judging anybody else, but in my personal life, when I use the word date, I don't mean sleeping with. I mean, I would go out to dinner, I'd go out to lunch, I'd go out to coffee, I would go have a drink with, I would meet for breakfast, I don't go for a walk, go for a hike, go to the beach. I can't think of anything else that I probably did. Go to yoga. I went on yoga dates. I think that's it. So when I say the word date, that's what I mean. I do not mean sleeping with. So I just want to clarify that because we are talking about telling somebody we have herpes. With that being said, I have zero judgment in who, what, when, where, and why. So just so you know. But for my own personal life, this is how I'm explaining it. So I decided I was 30, well, just turning 30. And I was like, all right, I got to date. I got to get out there. I got to date. And I went on a date with this one guy who I'd known for a while. And he asked me on a date like 2 years before. And I didn't want to go with him. But I knew that if if you kind of like put it out there, they're going to ask you for a date. Like, you're still in. So I played that card. I thought that'll be good for my self-esteem. So I went out with him and I had no interest in him. And I knew he wanted to sleep with me. And it really felt good to be taken out on a date, have my car door opened. He paid for my valet. We went to, in San Diego, we have a Little Italy, which is, great food, romantic. So we go to Italian restaurants, and it was fun. And I knew it got to the point but I had no interest in anything else other than just being taken out. It felt good. And so I knew it got to the point where he was ready for something more. Totally understand. And so I'll be honest, I use the fact that I have herpes to prevent him from sleeping with me. I used that. Like, that was my scapegoat. Is that right or wrong? It is what it is. And I used it as my scapegoat. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you can use it to your advantage, I guess. To the rejection, like get somebody like, hey, I have herpes. Like, you don't want to sleep with me. And it's easier than saying, gosh, you're really nice, but I don't think it's going to work out. I use the herpes line as an excuse to not sleeping with somebody. Maybe you've done that before too. Maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you think that's wrong. But yeah, I use the herpes excuse. And I remember I cried after I told him. I actually cried. I told him, I cried. And it was still a sting in my life to tell this guy. And so clearly nothing was going to happen after you have a girl you took on a date. She's crying that she has herpes. Like, that's not going to happen. Sex isn't going to happen. So then there'd be a couple other guys I date, and I would just, get to the point, and some of them I was interested in, and some of them I wasn't. My own personal thing was I wanted to get to know them before I slept with them. I didn't want to have one night stands. That just was not my thing. Nothing right or wrong with it. It wasn't my thing. I would get personally attached to them, and then I didn't. Then in my opinion, I was attached to them for the wrong reason, not for the right reason. So, there'd be times like this one guy. Oh my gosh, he was a Navy pilot, and he was cocky, and he just kept pushing and pushing and like, come on, let's go, and I was like thinking to myself, no, I have no idea. Then it was kind of that thing of like, haha, what if I didn't tell you? And then you got herpes for being so pushy? I never would do that because I'm very upfront about telling somebody. But there's that part of me that was like, I just want to show you what pushy means. I'll show you. Like, back off, And I was just the point of like, just back off. Like, I'm not interested in getting there. I still wanted to get to know him. But there was that like devil in the back of your head of like, what if I don't tell you and you got herpes? That would be pretty funny. But I never slept with him and it never went anywhere. And I never even told him I had herpes because I never had the intent to sleep with him. But here's a time that it was hard for me to tell is I was dating somebody and we were dating probably for 3 months. And I liked him. I liked him a lot. He liked me. We had known each other and for a number of years before, so it was somebody I knew and we have had a friendship. So it wasn't a stranger I was dating. It was somebody I knew as a friendship. And so you kind of, how you're like, well, are we going on dates as friends? Like, are we going to yoga together because it's fun? Or are we going to yoga because we're dating? You're kind of in that phase. And there was a time I spent the night and, nothing happened. And I thought, okay, now that I've spent the night, I need to tell him. And it is 100% fair. And I can remember telling him, we went to dinner and I told him over dinner. And I remember saying, babe, maybe I didn't say babe because we weren't official yet. But I called him babe later on, so I'm going to throw babe in there. But I just said, I have herpes, and that's something you're going to have to understand and make a conscious decision if you want to take this any further. And I remember I was shaking again, like shaking, scared, holding my breath. I can remember the dinner. I remember I had a burger. It was a really good burger. Good fries, glass of wine, and I remember just shaking, scared to tell him this. Knowing that he could 100% reject me and knowing that I had in the back of my mind that that was going to be okay because I told myself, if you don't love Alexandra for everything that I have, then you don't deserve my love. And I don't remember what he said in that moment, but it was something comforting, saying thank you, along the lines of thank you for telling me, and I appreciate you telling me, and I'll do my own research. And I remember going home that night, going to bed, calling one of my friends from high school, saying I just told him that I have herpes. And she was supportive of me and said, let me know if you need to talk. I didn't want to talk about it. And then he sent me a text that was, too bad I don't have it. I could probably find it. I don't know if I have it anymore, but it was really comforting. And I just want you to know this because this is going to happen. And there will be somebody that goes, it's okay. Thank you for sharing. It doesn't make me feel any differently about you. And I want to do my own research on it, and we'll take precautionary steps. That was the gist of the text, something along those lines. So that was hard and scary. And, maybe because I had herpes, I did not sleep with as many people as normal, I guess. I don't know if that's normally or would have or could have. I don't know. I was never I didn't jump in bed fast. I never have jumped in bed fast. And as I'm rambling, and I hope you can follow my story, and I hope I'm speaking to you from my heart, and what I'm trying to say is, it's all in how you share your message. If you share it as a scapegoat, as an excuse, you're probably going to get an excuse response back. Like, okay, great. So we're not going to sleep together. Okay, got it. Thanks. If you share it from your heart and you're like, this is hard for me and I'm scared, or whatever you're feeling, and share it, chances are you're going to get that opposite reaction back. I know when my fiance and I, different guy from my stories, but when my fiance and I got together, he already knew I had herpes. In fact, he was like the second person I told. Well, besides the people I had had previous relationships with, I told him. I told my fiance, and I cried on his shoulder that day. He's been in my life for a long time, and he's the love of my life. I don't know where I'd be without him, but I remember crying on his shoulder and just, what do I do? And he just was like, I'll be here for you, whatever you need, Alexandra. Like, I'm here for you. You're family to me. Like, whatever you need, I am here for you. Like, go rest, take the day, go home, like, go take care of yourself. I'm here for you. So when he and I eventually, years down the road, got together, he obviously knew I had herpes. We discussed it just discussed it. He wanted to know what it meant. And it has never been an issue at all in our relationship, at all. It is never even an ounce, there's not even an ounce of energy that goes into it. It doesn't matter, because he loves me from head to toe and everything about me, and loves my herpes too. I'm getting all emotional about this with my fiance. What I'm trying to say is, you need to understand how you feel about it. You need to understand why you're telling somebody. Are you telling them from your heart, or are you telling them as an excuse to get away from sleeping with them? Because that is going to mirror. And I truly believe, and I will probably do a whole podcast on it. This is just my own personal stories and telling people that I had herpes. Or people that I wanted to sleep with. People that I was going to enter a relationship to sleep with. Different than telling past partners. That's a whole nother podcast as well. Past partners conversation, very different than future partner conversation. What I want to say to that is, Your body, your viruses, your medications, your life story, whatever it is your story. It is your body. It is your virus. It is you. You do not need to tell a person on a first date unless you're going to sleep with them. You do not need to tell people you have herpes until you sleep with them before. And I would recommend giving them some time to think about it, not in the heat of the moment. That's not fair to them. But really, it's your responsibility to tell them, but you don't need to tell them until you're going to sleep with them. It's just like saying, if you were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, you probably wouldn't mention that on your first date, right? You wouldn't mention that over yoga or, in downward dog or over a cup of coffee if that's all it is. And if that's all it is, that's all it is. My point is, it's up to you to decide who gets to know you, who gets to know this about you, and how are you going to give that information to them? Is it going to be positive? Or is it going to be negative? Is it going to be a scapegoat? Are you going to come at it as, I am shameful and I have this and I'm sorry and how could you ever love me? And I can understand if you don't ever want to sleep with me and I'm disgusting. Well, you're probably going to get the reaction back that like, yeah, you are. I don't want to sleep with you. If you come at it that way. So you have to get to the point where you are strong and secure and safe with it. And that is why I've created this podcast. And I want you to be confident with you. Yes, it is shock. Yes, it is painful. Yes, the pain of the stigma is far worse than the pain of the outbreak. Yes, the pain of someone saying, I don't want to sleep with you because you have herpes is far more painful than the outbreak. Yes, I know. And that's why I've created this. And that's why I've created this community. This was I feel good that I got this out. I feel good I told this story. My stories of sharing and wondering when I'd go on dates, like, when do I have to tell them? So I'm glad I shared this. If you are not a member of our community, I would love for you to be a member of our community. Like I said, I don't want you to be alone. I don't want you to be in shock or lost or scared. I want you to have freedom from this virus. I want you to be free from the stigma. I want you to be free from being in the crisis mode. I want you to be free from the judgment. I want you to be free of outbreaks. I want you to learn how to live with it. So that's why I've created this podcast and this community. Head on over to lifewithherpes.com and join our community. It is free. I've been saying free a lot, but I want freedom for you, and so it's free. But you have free ebooks. You can join our Facebook community. There's a lot for you to do. There's resources. You have all these podcasts that are repositories of information for you to go back and read the show notes. There's good shit in there. Anyways, I feel like this is a long podcast, so I'm going to sign out, not tune out. I'm going to sign out and have a really great day. I'd love to hear your stories about telling your partner that you have herpes. I'd love to hear that. So head on over to the Facebook group and let me know. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, go to lifewithherpes.com. Give me your email that is associated with Facebook, and I will add you. All right. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you soon.